Facebook and YouTube and on LinkedIn. And we encourage you to join us. This show is all about learning to cook and cooking for yourself. Okay? It doesn't matter if you're an accountant, a lawyer, a doctor, whatever your spouse, maybe you're without a spouse right now, or a companion, you could cook, and it's really, really important. Tonight's show is really going to have a lot. We're going to have a lot of fun with it because our guest is such a friendly, upbeat kind of a guy. I cannot imagine him yelling at anybody, especially me if I screw up the recipe. We're going to be making jambalaya, and if you know that song, you can sing it. I can't sing, so I'm not going to do it. I only know one word of the song anyway. Jambalaya, dee 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 dee. Anyway, this is Mark Alyn Cooks. We're on the air. And of course, what I don't want is I don't want our guest to review me because I might cry. Our guest spent 10 years as the editor-in-chief of Rotten Tomatoes, and Carol loves Rotten Tomatoes. Not the kind that you would maybe eat. No. The movie reviews and TV reviews. So we're going to bring Matt Atchison on right now. He is now with Story Merchants. Matt, welcome to Mark Alyn Cooks.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Do you like? Have you always been a foodie? At least liking to eat?
Always. I have, yes, I joke that I am not necessarily a gourmet, but I'm definitely a gourmand.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. And I love to eat. Almost, well, I don't know if I like to eat more than I like to cook. You said something just before we went on. You used to use HelloFresh, and it taught you how to cook.
Yeah, my wife and I started doing that because we were both working, and it was hard to make time to go to the store. And it was handy because they send you all the food, and neither of us really had cooked that much. I had 2 or 3 dishes I did. She had a couple, but as we did it more, I realized it taught me to cook in that in doing all of these various things, I realized like, oh, there's no magic here. There's not some secret to cook. It's not like I'm trying to do something that you'd find in some fancy Michelin starred restaurant. I'm just cooking at home. And even then, all of that stuff is so much about presentation. That it gave me a lot of confidence. And now I'm much more comfortable just kind of going into the kitchen and kind of just whipping something up.
Got it. I think cooking is an art form. It's like writing a script to me. I just think it's art. It just is. We're going to be making jambalaya, and I believe the jambalaya is a recipe from your mom.
Yes, this is my mom's recipe. She born and raised in New Orleans. And
I am looking forward to it. We start each show with a toast. I am looking forward to it. We start each show with a toast. And I don't know if you have something, adult beverage with you or not. I've got a beer. And
mojito.
It's from Belgium, not from New Orleans. I should have. What do you?
I have a mojito. And those in New Orleans will say a beer is the perfect thing to go with jambalaya. And it's okay that it's from Belgium because New Orleans is such a melting pot of so many different influences that the beer's okay.
So do you know a Creole or a New Orleans toast?
I don't actually. I don't know any good. The only toast that I I do know an old Irish toast, which was "Let's get drunk."
Okay, I'm with it. Let's go. And I'm drinking a Stella. Who's the guy featured in the Stella commercials right now, Carol?
I don't know.
The soccer player.
Oh,
And
Beckham.
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 Well, if he can drink it, so can I.
David Beckham.
Well, we're going to start. I have a smoked andouille sausage right in front of me, right here. I'm going to cut this up. And Matt, tell me when your mom would serve this.
So this was pretty much a family regular. Every probably every couple of months she would do this. One of the nice about this is that it's pretty hard to really mess this up.
Good.
Jambalaya is, a particular type of cooking where, the history of jambalaya is, some people think it's kind of based on paella. Some people say it's based on West African cooking, because there was in the West African kind of Senegalese region, if I'm not mistaken, they cooked with a lot of rice, and it was kind of throw everything in the pot and then cook the rice with it, and the rice is going to soak up the flavor there. So, to that extent, as long as your ingredients are good and they all blend together well in the pot, then yeah, throw your rice in and it's going to be great. But we would make this from time to time, especially if we were having an event, because it you can eat, what you're making, the recipe that I sent, it probably serves at least 6 people. You can easily make it for more than that.
Well, we're I cut it down a little bit, but when Carol bought the sausage, it's almost a pound. So everything else is a little bit less. I'm gonna turn the flame on and melt this butter. We have some butter in here, about 3, maybe 4 tablespoons of butter. When you cook now, do you use recipes? Do you follow the recipe, or do you kind of ad lib?
I tend to follow the recipes, but I will improvise. I will add stuff. Although my wife, there was a stint that I was cooking for a while, and my wife, after a few weeks, said, "You have to stop doubling the butter and sour cream and cream cheese in any recipe," because her pants were getting too small. So
Hey, I get that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and improvising. I mean, it's what I've done almost all of my professional life, uh, improvising and being spontaneous. Um, when you've done several podcasts. You work with Ben Mankiewicz as one, the Young Turks. That's something that I could be an old Turk, but not a young Turk. And um, uh, that's all improvised.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's, and you'll know this, Mark, more than almost anyone. Part of hosting and even being a guest, it's the good conversation, right? And being able to be a good conversationalist does involve being able to improvise and think about what your audience is there to hear and what's going to be interesting to them. Um, I took an improv class while working at Rotten Tomatoes to help me with my interview skills. Um, and it actually turned out to be one of the greatest tools in my marriage, um, because it allowed me to hear the subtext of things my wife would say to me without,
Fair enough.
previously I wouldn't know it.
I took a couple of classes years ago at the Groundlings, and
Yeah, those are great classes. I was at the Upright Citizens Brigade, the UCB theater.
got it, got it. All right, here we go. How long have you been married?
About, this is our 13th year.
Oh my goodness! Wow. Well, congratulations. All right, the butter is
Thank you.
I think I put this in next, the sausage.
Yeah, go ahead and throw that sausage in. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit. Now, this is not one of the healthier meals that we've made here on Mark Allen Cooks. It's not. But it's, I love jambalaya. I love gumbo. I love the etouffee.
Oh yeah. I
Etouffee.
will say this may not be a particularly, say low calorie meal, but it's not processed. It's all, outside of the sausage. Like this is all fairly natural ingredients, right? You may get canned tomatoes, but at least like you don't you're not wondering what's in it,
Right.
if
And
that
that,
helps.
which is good. When you're cooking, do you look for things like preservatives? Do you look for things like genetically modified foods?
I'm not really thinking about preservatives because if I'm cooking, I am trying to find fresh ingredients. It's I mean, I might, depending on what I'm making, I might get like the pre-chopped onions at the grocery store to save myself a step. Now, as you stir that, Mike, you're going to want to make sure that if you see anything, kind of collecting on the bottom of the pan, you want to scrape that up. You may not see, sometimes you don't see any, but just kind of keep an eye out for that. And same thing when you add the chicken in a couple of minutes.
Okay, we're going to let this cook for a little bit more. I wish you could smell this, Matt. It smells great already.
Oh, I'm sure it smells delicious.
I'm going to look here. And then right now we're going to put in some chopped ham.
Get chicken and ham in there.
Okay, I'll put them both in. Now the ham is a smoked ham. The chicken is raw.
Yes.
And this is chicken.
And I'll add, like with a lot of Cajun cooking, do have the freedom to add kind of whatever you want in here, right? Some people will add shrimp to their jambalaya. I'm not personally a person that does that, but I don't have issues if you want to do that. Sometimes people don't want to add ham. It's kind of whatever you feel like. But a nice smoked ham will add a nice kind of smoky flavor to it.
This is. Now this takes some time to cook. We're going to do that. We'll let it sit there. Let's talk about what you're doing now. You went from critiquing all those poor filmmakers, and now you're working with filmmakers. There's a big difference.
There is a big difference. What I think about it is I spent years and years looking at a movie once everything was done, and now I get to look at a script before anyone starts shooting and work with writers to find really cool stories and either help them really like get their idea out there and really kind of execute what the story tell, or just find somebody who's interested and help find cool stories to get turned into movies.
Now we have to be honest. Uh, True transparency. Your uncle Ken has been on the show a couple times, and each time he gets a little bit of. I guess he likes green bell pepper, and we're going to be adding some red bell pepper. Okay, so Ken, I apologize again. There's just something about green bell pepper, and I just heard from. Um, Barbara Weller was on last week, and she said green bell pepper can actually make some people ill because it's not a ripe vegetable or fruit. It's actually a fruit, I think. So, just a point. And you're not a green bell pepper.
That's more justification. I do not like green bell peppers. Never liked them.
You might
Never
get
liked them.
tired now.
I've never liked them, and I always thought, well, maybe I just don't like peppers. And then when I remember the first time I tried a nice red bell pepper that had been grilled, and I thought, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't peppers that I don't like, it's the gross green peppers. They're gross. They're gross.
I agree. And when Carol and I first started dating, we would order a pizza, for example, mushroom, onion, and green bell pepper, because I thought she liked it. And she would put it off pull them off, and I would too. And I don't know how long it took, but one of us said, and it was probably Carol, said, "Don't you like green bell pepper?" I said, "No, I hate it. Why are we putting it on our pizza? Because I thought you liked it." "No, I don't like it." Anyway, thought it was, you know, it's a kind of an O. Henry story. Our life has been.
I'll tell you a fun thing to do if you like red and yellow peppers. I've done this before, and maybe this will be the second thing we come and do, is baking some jambalaya and stuffing a pepper, like doing a stuffed pepper with jambalaya in it, is
Oh, that's
delightful.
Delicious. We'll be over. All right. I've got it on high. It's cooking up. Chicken is cooking up nicely. I've got red bell pepper. Here's some red bell pepper. And I love it. It's sweet.
Oh yeah,
Taste, right?
yeah. Now a green poblano pepper is
Absolutely.
fine, but it's just the bell peppers. The green bell peppers are, yeah, they're not ripe. Like, why would we eat these?
I don't know. I have a couple of pieces of. I had some bay leaves, and we're going to throw those in now, I think.
Yeah, if your chicken's brown, then go ahead and throw in your bay leaves, your spicing, and half of your onion and celery and bell pepper, and then all of your garlic.
Okay, so I can add the. Tell me that again. I can't.
So you have your seasoning, right? Go ahead and add your seasoning that you're going to use, your 2 tablespoons of seasoning. Go ahead and put that in.
And we're going to be using Tony's, Creole, Creole, right?
Yeah, that's great stuff.
And I think it is 2 teaspoons or 2 tablespoons.
2 tablespoons.
That'll do it.
And then you'll do your onion. So all of your vegetables that you have, your onion, your celery, and bell pepper, only put half of each one in there now.
I goofed.
That's okay. That's okay.
I took some of the
So the reason my mom has told me the reason she does half at once and half of the other is that part of it's a texture thing. So you'll get really soft some really nice soft vegetables, and then you'll get some that have a little bit still of a because you're going to add the rest of them later.
And what about, I have some tomatoes, chopped tomatoes here.
Hold off on the tomatoes, but you're going to put the garlic in.
And how much garlic?
You're going to have a tablespoon of minced garlic.
All right. I am using Melissa's pre-chopped garlic. And maybe a little.
Great.
We like a lot of garlic.
That's okay. Keeps the vampires away.
Yes.
Oh, it looks great. Yeah, just mix all that up. You're doing great.
Oh, we're doing good. Good. I like that. What else do I? Oh, I have celery to put in.
Oh, right. Yes, your celery.
All of it?
Yeah, and so no, half of it.
Half of it. Got it. I think your mom's name is Jan.
Jan, yeah.
This is Jan's Jambalaya.
Yeah, and so you'll cook that until your vegetables start to soften. You don't want them really, really soft, but they'll just start to soften. It'll take about 7 minutes or so. Um,
Should I cover it?
no, you don't need to cover it yet.
Okay.
I mean, I suppose no, but you do want to keep making sure you don't have anything building up at the bottom of the pan. So you want to keep scraping that
There's a lot
just
of
in an abundance of caution.
right. There's a lot of liquid in there, so we're not scorching anything.
Yeah, when I tend to make this, I actually tend to double the meat on the recipe I sent you. Um, just because that's the way I like it with extra meat. But I always have to add a little bit more rice when I do that because the meat's got so much liquid in it, so much water in it.
Right. And I cut it down a little bit because, um, first of all, there's only the two of us, so we're gonna have leftover, okay? And two, so much meat. Meat is, I do like it. Okay, the chicken is cooking up nicely, and I'm just constantly stirring this.
Yeah, until you put the rice in, you are going to spend a fair amount of time uh, stirring it.
Now,
But then once you put the rice in, then you can sit and chill.
okay, because what I did was I did a little cheat. We cooked the rice in advance, and I did that.
Oh, great.
Okay, to just speed up the process. So I have tomato sauce to add too.
Okay.
We're not ready to do
How
that.
soft are your vegetables yet?
Um, the onions are soft.
Yeah, if your onions are soft, that's probably okay.
All right. Yeah, the onions.
It really comes to how soft do you want your celery to be?
Got it. The celery is still a little crunchy. So I'm going to add tomato sauce now.
Great. Yeah, now with your pre-cooked rice, you're going to end up probably with some crunchier vegetables than you would otherwise, but that's fine. That's not a problem. It's a little bit different the way it comes out. But again, jambalaya is very much an improvisational food. It's kind of whatever you got around, right? There's a lot of those styles of food, especially in Cajun cooking. It's, oh, what's in this? Well, what do you got?
We cook with a man some Cajun. Oh, I have chicken stock to add. We still have more onions, celery, and then the rice and fresh tomatoes. I have fresh chopped tomatoes, Campari tomatoes, which are our favorite. But we cook some Cajun food.
I love Campari tomatoes.
Yeah, with a man who's 89 years old, and he's from Louisiana. Tells some great stories about growing up.
Oh, I bet.
I'm getting a little thirsty because I'm working. Everything is.
Well, I don't know if you ever watched any of the old Justin Wilson cooking shows, but he would definitely have some drinks while he was cooking. I remember watching him make some recipe, and he had wine he was putting in his sauce, and he says, you put a little wine into sauce, a little wine into cook.
I remember the Galloping Gourmet, and I was reading about him. He on camera, he appeared to be drinking a lot, but off camera, he didn't. So I always thought that.
Huh.
So I drink on camera.
I mean, Dean Martin would always talk about that, right? Like he would say, "Look, I don't drink as much as you think I did. If I drank as much as you thought I did, I'd be on the floor every day."
Yeah, exactly. But there are people who can drink like a quart of vodka and still walk.
I,
Not me.
more power to him.
Yes.
All right, so you're probably in good shape to put in the rest of your vegetables and the tomatoes.
All right. So here's the peppers. And by the way, this was uh, one whole pepper. This is a sweet onion. And again, I think we had a little delivery issue from, it was FedEx's fault. And I know that as soon as we're done, FedEx is going to have a big 25-pound box of vegetables from Melissa's.
Of course.
I'm going to put the rest of the celery in. And again, I tell the audience this all the time, that I'm not a professional cook. I'm a home cook, and I like to cook. And I think that having a pizza every day and stacking up your pizza boxes in the kitchen is not what the kitchen was meant for, right?
Absolutely. You know, I think sometimes with professional cooks, to a extent, they benefit from tools the average person doesn't have and staff the person doesn't have, right? It's, you look at the fancy things you get at a fancy restaurant and you think, okay, it might take a lot of work for me to make this beautiful little piece of art, but they're making, you know, 50 or 60 of those all over the course of a night. They're not just making the one.
Yes.
There's an economy of scale to what they do. And they're not, whereas it seems like, oh my God, they're doing all this work for one thing. Well, they're actually doing all of that work for 20 things at once.
It's I've been in many kitchens throughout the United States and some in Europe, um, watching chefs cook, and it's to me it's amazing. As I said, it's an art. Our son is a chef, and watching him cook it's thrilling. I wish I could cook like that. Um, he is just you know from presentation to chopping, just really terrific. Um,
It, I like watching a good chef and a good, it's actually, you mentioned Ben Mankiewicz earlier. One of the things he talks about in movies that he really likes is when you get to see someone who's good at what they do, doing it really well. And that's a satisfaction when you watch a talented chef. Like, that they're good and they're showing up and there's a real.
so I have a show. It's won a lot of awards. It is different because it's a lot of awards. It is different because it's anxiety producing. Anxiety producing. Okay, and that's Bear.
I'm going to say that one.
And I love
Yes.
it. I mean, they have and I love
Yes.
it. I mean, they have a food producer. They have a food producer and producer and you know somebody's got some somebody's got some great knife skills and they can chop and do all that great knife skills and they can chop and do all that stuff. But I just love stuff. But I just love Bear. Have you reviewed that?
That's a terrific show. Yeah, it's a terrific show. When I first started watching it, I told my wife she couldn't watch it because it would make her too anxious. It just would be too anxiety inducing. So yeah, it's a terrific show. And yeah, the stuff that they do in there is great. And Io Edeberry is so good in that. I really love her in that. As well as Cousin Richie.
Yeah.
As Cousin Richie.
Yeah, cousin Richard is good. You know who else is good?
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis. She
Oh,
has,
she's always good.
she is, but she's got, I mean, no makeup except to make her look older and wrinkled and all that. But she is such a great nut job.
Yeah.
It
Yeah, she's terrific in that.
my one complaint, and I guess this is part of the anxiety producing, is that they have such tight shots all the time on faces, which I like shots on faces, but I really don't need to see pimples on skin. You know, it's
I remember a few years, oh, that looks terrific. That looks so good.
I have
Yeah, you're looking great there, Mark.
great. Thank you. I've got stock to add, right?
Yes. Yeah, so go ahead and put your chicken stock in and your rice.
Now, it clumped a little bit. I cooked it earlier. There.
That's okay. Yeah, the only difference with what's going to turn out for you is that when you're otherwise cooking the rice in all of the broth and vegetable juices. So if you were to separate the rice out from everything else, you'd get this flavor blend of all of those things in there. It'll pick some of it up just because you're going to put it in there with all of the other things. But what happens when you're cooking it with the rice is it'll come out. When you spoon this out, you'll want to use like a slotted spoon, because when you cook it with the rice, when you cook the rice in it, it'll soak up all that moisture.
Yes, it's going to be. I'm going to add. You know what? I'm just going to add all the rice. You can never. It says make 1 cup of rice, but it's always more. It always seems to be more. Okay. Now we're getting close to. God, does that smell good?
Right?
Yeah. This whole thing. I think the rice will, because I cooked it earlier. I think it will soak up some of that juice. Somebody told me that a lot of times in making jambalaya, you make a roux, which is with butter and flour of some kind, and that thickens it.
I haven't done that. I make a roux if I make gumbo, but I haven't done that with jambalaya. But that sounds like an interesting thing to try.
Yeah.
Yeah, my jambalaya comes out fairly thick because I'm putting, as I mentioned earlier, like I tend to add a little bit more rice so it comes out and really soaks up all of that moisture, and it doesn't come out it comes out moist but not like super wet.
Got it.
It comes out like rice, right? Yeah.
And there are the dogs. One of those dogs is
Yes.
different
Yes.
than me. I just
Yeah. So the one that we're hearing right now, that's my pit bull Jelly Bean, who both of my dogs are upset that they are in the other room and not able to be here, chewing on things in my office.
I'm gonna cover them. I think for a little bit.
I don't know.
Should I cover that? Or let it?
Yeah. Go ahead and cover it.
We'll let it go for a minute or so, and then I'm gonna do. And I know that it needs to cook a little bit longer. What is your favorite thing to cook? It has to be done at dinner time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I love making jambalaya. There's a dish that I make that my mom taught me called dumpet cake, which is very much a Midwestern thing. It kind of depends. It's the way I make it is with crushed pineapple and cherry pie filling, and you mix those in a big baking dish, like a 9 by 13 dish. You put yellow cake mix on top of the whole thing, cover the whole thing with butter, and pecan, and then bake it.
Oh my! And that's it. That sounds
And it
easy.
comes out like a cobbler. It's delicious.
Wow. Cherry filling, pineapple filling.
Crushed pineapples.
Crushed pineapple and cherry pie filling. Although I've seen people make it with other types of fruit, so you can kind of put whatever fruit you want into it.
Ooh, it sounds good. It really does.
That's one of my favorite things. I make a really good queso. Yeah, those are some of my favorite things to make. Although my wife and my son don't particularly.
I will. I make an Italian squid dish that I think is delicious, but nobody else does.
Well, your son-in-law
Oh,
does.
my son-in-law. You're right. In fact, I talk to him the other day, and he misses. He'd love me to make squid, but they live on the East Coast, so
So they'll have to come in.
I'm sorry.
They'll have to come out and visit.
Yes, well, some of them did. Harold, do you have a slotted spoon over there? I'm going to do a little taste. We'll let it cook a little bit longer. Matt, I really appreciate your time today. This is a great recipe. And
Oh, I'm glad you like it. Yeah, it looks like it's going to come out great.
I'm gonna.
And the good news is this keeps pretty well. This is a thing that you can, it'll keep in the fridge for a few days. If, we tend to put it in, containers for 1 or 2 servings, and it'll keep really well that way. And you can freeze it too and just heat it back up.
So I'm gonna put it here. It's gonna take a little taste. And I have this. And one more.
Oh, that looks great.
I can taste New Orleans in this. In this. So I'm going to take the rice first, and I'm going to wait a second. When we first started the show, I just jumped in and had to learn how to do the hot mouth dance.
Right.
This is fabulous.
Oh, good.
Man, this is really good. Carol, thank you for getting the Andouille sausage. That really made it.
Now, we talked about this before you did it. For people that are watching, if you can't get a hold of Andouille sausage, my mom, because growing up in Kansas City in the 80s, not everybody was making it, and that might be hard to get. So we would just get like a kielbasa, right? Like a smoked sausage, and chop that up, and that works. So that'll work fine. If you can get andouille, if you can get tasso ham, that's great. But if you can't get those, again, it's jambalaya. It's kind of whatever you have handy.
It's really, really good. And
Good.
Beer is perfect with it. Or a mojito.
Yeah, I remember. Or a mojito. I remember talking to my mom years ago as we were making this, and I said, what would be a good cocktail? And she's like, cocktail schmocktail. You have a beer with jambalaya. And I thought, oh, okay, that's right.
Got it. Well, this is really good. Will you come back sometime?
Sure. And, as we talked about, this is a great dish for entertaining. This is a great dish if you have a bunch of people over, because everybody will get a bowl and they'll all go nuts.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, this is really, really good. Let me just taste. I want to taste just the celery. see how the celery came out. It's soft. It has the flavor of the Cajun spices. Oh, I'm sorry, I keep going.
That's okay. This is one of the recipes I consider one of my secret weapons, because if you're willing to, especially when I'm entertaining, I will do all of my prep work ahead of time, like you guys have done. and then you kind of just whip it all together. And as we saw, it takes about 20 minutes to kind of just cook everything, and then you let the rice go, and it comes out spectacular, and people think you've been in the kitchen all day.
Uh, and it's easy. This is something that's super, super easy. Um,
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. I'm glad you're going to come back. Maybe you'll come back with Ken, with your uncle, and the two of you,
Okay.
the three of us can cook. We actually did a Cajun cook-off with uh, with uh, with Ken. I think it was last year for New Year's. Anyway, um,
Well, we'll arm wrestle about the peppers.
yes, exactly. We've got two arms to his one.
Right.
Right. Hold on a second. Um, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Ken. Thanks a lot, Matt Atchity from Story Merchant. And if you want information, you can go to storymerchant.com. If you're a writer, you should definitely check it out. All right. Let me tell you what's happening next week. What's happening next week is I don't know. Uh, I don't know. I think we're going to do fusion Indian out, and then in 2 weeks, Robert Schuler will be back from Melissa's in a pre-recorded program, and we'll be doing some vegetarian stuff. This is really fabulous, Matt. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye bye for now. Thanks, Carol.